Let's go for the actual score. Europa Natural
Yo, 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 yo. How's everyone doing? We're here, Europa Natural Law. We're here to chat about morality. So, hello, everyone. First things first, like the video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Go and do a comment right now. Tell the algorithm to, boost us if you like what we're doing. And what we're doing is talking about morality. And massive subject, another massive subject. And let us introduce ourselves. I'm Nemo Jones.
Hey, I'm Oscar, and yeah, this is the kind of things that happen when you're live. Things can get you can have complications, but it's great to speak with you all today again. Good to be with you, Nemo, and Derek. Are you unmuted now? Still muted. Well, I'll pass it on from Denmark here.
Yeah, hi, I'm Yvonne, and I'm from the UK in Norfolk.
Hi, I'm Tommy, Scotland, Glasgow. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Okay, so morality, huge subject, obviously, as I said, and one that seems kind of not really in the forefront somehow. Is kind of like dropped away out of. It's not really in people's consciousness. It feels like old-fashioned. To even bring it up. It's like, oh, what, that old thing. So obviously we're talking about. There's kind of two aspects to it, as far as I can see. There's one is good and evil, and the other is wrong and right, and they're kind of like subtly different, I would say, or maybe not so subtly. But yes, morality, wrong and right, I would say, is more about our specific actions and the decisions that we make. And then good and evil would be the kind of like the larger kind of forces at work, or I guess impulses, or something like that. So that's kind of like my like perspective on the whole thing. So I'll pass it over. I'm not going to chat too much to begin with. Let's see what other people have to bring.
I'll tune in. I think this topic really is related to some previous topics on our roundtable discussions, such as, for example, healing. I really do think that our perception of morality is influenced by our health, or like our psychological health, and if we are traumatized and we don't process that trauma, I think it's possible for us to kind of get like a warped perception of morality and feel like that things that are unjust are somehow justified, and things that are immoral. Sorry, yeah, I said that. Yeah, then things that are immoral are suddenly okay, and we see that, like, where people maybe have like are not able to set proper boundaries, and people just step over them, but they don't really see that as being wrong, or like and also the other way, where people overstep boundaries but they feel it's okay because wrong has been done to them or something like that. And then I also, I think it's also really tied in with the topic we had last roundtable discussion, where we spoke about objective truth. So yeah, if there is an objective truth, meaning that there is a reality to be discovered, there is a truth about what is happening in the world and how things work, that we can discover, that we can come to know. Well, the same actually does hold true for morality. And with morality, if I was to define it, I would say it's all about the difference between behavior that results in harm, that is the initiation behavior, that is violent because it violates the rights of others. We also spoke about rights in a previous roundtable discussion, and yeah, that's how I would define morality. That it's a quality of behavior where you can differentiate between morality and immorality, being the difference between actions that is violent, meaning that it is an initiation of harm, of like you're violating someone's property or someone's rights, you're taking from them, and behavior then that does not do that, that respects the self-ownership of others, that respects the freedom of others, and so on.
Respectare. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Wow, that was so hard. I was talking to you guys with my mic before we went live, and all of a sudden, what the hell? Anyways,
Glad you figured it out.
yeah. When you got options, you got to use them. So, c'est la vie. Tech gremlins can come home and roost your shit whenever. Anyway, so yeah, Oscar, thanks for pointing out the property rights and all that stuff and how we need to respect those. And also, I think we covered the fact that going over what is a right. We got to respect other people's rights, respect our own, and all that stuff. Mother Nature's rights. Going through the rites of passage to get that knowledge to put it into proper action, wisdom, if you will. What is a right? Sometimes these things can be better explained apophatically, meaning to describe anything that is not a right, because there's tons of that stuff. And so we can look at it the same way of what is immorality, what is immoral, and we could just ask questions and answer those and come to some pretty revealing truths about it all, like what initiates harm upon other people, what violates their well-being, and those things. Do the words and actions and things that I conduct upon other people during whatever interaction, any given time of day, night, whatever, are they infringing upon that person's well-being and that kind of stuff? Is it, when we look at things energetically, there's this electromagnetic force within us and between life and just creation, the universe, and all these things. How are we respecting that electromagnetic integrity within other people, but especially it has to have respect for yourself first and foremost, for you to be treating other people properly. And it harkens back a little bit to religious text of the golden rule type of stuff of treat others like you would want to be treated yourself. But unfortunately, a lot of people are conditioned to not even fucking treat themselves properly, consciously, respectfully, because they're not even looking back at themselves to do some further examination and proper self-mastery and self-gnosis. First and foremost, it takes years, if not lifetimes, to get to the self-mastery level. We came here to be the true ascended masters, not worship fucking gods and that kind of shit. What if the gods are rooting for us to hold our own weight and become those megalithic tall tales of extraordinary strength and virtue and wisdom and all these things, right? Things to consider, and just have in the forefront of your inspirational Magi nation, I suppose, and inspire others to do unto others as you would like to be treated, or what do you not want to be treated like? Think about these things apophatically, right? So yeah, I'll just end it right there. Bonjour.
I'll just jump in quick. Couple of things, because there's been quite an interesting dialogue going on a Telegram chat, not actually the ENL chat, but a different one, around, and one of the things that's come up in that, which it just it's funny because it made me think, is that the difference between harm and violence, because potentially you can initiate harm in self-defense. Seems kind of ironic, but that's to be very specific about language. It is actually true that you can actually initiate harm, but it could be justified because it's in self-defense. Yeah.
Can you expand on that? What do you mean you can initiate?
So when we're talking about the non-aggression principle, of course we know it has to also be balanced with the self-defense principle. So when we talk about aggression, it's quite important to really differentiate force. Force just means like anything that we do really consists of the use of force. Violence is when you are is the wrongful use of force, which basically means the initiation of harmful force.
Right, but the self-defense is not initiatory. It's the response to.
No, but you can initiate harm in self-defense.
But then you're not initiating.
Can I explain it?
Sorry,
because basically, if someone approaches you and threatens you, then you are justified in actually initiating harm to protect yourself, whereas they haven't actually initiated violence.
They kind of have, though. They've threatened you. They've initiated the fight. They've said, "Come at me," or what?
I don't think coercion is the same as violence. That's why you wouldn't identify the 7, like the real sins, as all violence. They're not all violent. Coercion isn't violent.
Let's go with the example.
That's what I was trying to say. You are violating that person's well-being. It doesn't have to be physical harm. You know what I mean? That's what I was trying to kind of just glaze over real quick. But yeah, not to get into like semantics or anything.
If someone
is a bit
is threatening or is being like an asshole to you and you punch them, who started the fight?
Well, it would depend on you're not being specific enough there, really, to clarify it.
I'm having like a memory of there's this guy and he's being like super much an asshole, like really provocative, and it's saying like, oh, you want to fight, and then the other guy he jumps over him and then it becomes kind of obvious that was like an overreaction, and the guy that was being provocative, he wasn't really meaning to, like, he was just having fun, or like even though it wasn't fun, he was just having a laugh, right? Who started the fight?
Tell me what he was saying again.
He was specifically saying, okay, so let's fight then, like let's have a fight, but he was.
Okay, that's not. That's like, let's have a fight is not a threat,
Well, it kind of was in a way, even though it was in a nonchalant way.
But rather than use, this is why I think it's better to use really clear examples, which are, which make it really clear. So, for example, give me your wallet or I will cut you.
Well, in that case, he started the fight very closely, right?
Well, no, because he hasn't used violence.
Well, he is. He's threatening with violence. Isn't that? He's using violence to motivate, like the threat of violence, right?
The threat of violence is different to violence. He hasn't actually harmed you.
but we don't have to wait until we get stabbed by the knife to realize, okay, now it's time to get into self-defense mode. You know, and
Yeah.
there's other ways to respond. We can, you know, fight,
Exactly. So
flight,
you-
freeze, fawn, whatever.
So
all
the
these
appropriate
things.
thing to do, if you're able in that situation, you know, if you think you could get, you know, obviously that's a different matter, but you are justified in initiating harm, physical harm, in that situation.
Right, yeah.
You
especially
are
if you're not gonna-
initiating physical harm. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line, isn't there, when it comes to a threat of violence? I mean, there's a point, and we've all been there, where you know that it's going to happen. I've certainly been in that situation, and at that point, you've got a choice. The way I always looked at it, well, I've not always looked at it this way. The way I look at it now is you've got a choice there. You can leg it, you can get out of dodge, or if you can't get out of dodge and you feel that you're in imminent danger, then at that point you have a right to self-defense. Because, like Derek said, you're not going to wait to get stabbed. And if you're certain that's going to happen to you, that's like self-defeating, isn't it? To wait to get stabbed or to wait to get punched in the face. But if you get the choice, that people might say this seems cowardly to run away, but it's not really, because you have got a choice not to enact violence on anybody and not to have violence enacted on you. Then yeah, do it. And it's something that I do a little bit of martial arts, and yeah, it's what you get taught. You get taught, like, get out of there. Only initiate fists as a last resort. But if you have to do it, you have to do it. You know.
I think I have a problem with saying that self-defense is the initiation of harm, because if I'm making a threat of violence, then I'm taking your ability to go about your day unbothered by me saying, give me that, I demand it. You know, I'm overstepping a boundary there. I'm initiating an aggression there, and therefore your reaction to it cannot be the initiation of harm. I've as the aggressor, I've initiated it.
What, say it again, Oscar?
It bothers me to define self-defense as the initiation of harm, or like saying that
it's not necessarily.
We're not doing that, but we're saying that you have a right to self-defense, right? And if you think you're in imminent danger, it's at that point, and there's nothing else you can do, and you initiate the violence, it's you're not initiating the violence. You're not initiating the violence. You're taking self-defense at that point, but it does involve force.
And
but the other person,
the only way I can defend myself, or like I can call it true defense, is if someone started it, if someone initiated, right? Then I'm defending myself. But you can see how it easily can become like actually not truly self-defense if I'm saying, well, I feel like I'm in danger, so I'm gonna initiate this harm because this person is making me feel uncomfortable.
But that is self-defense. If you're 100% sure that if I don't do something, I'm the one that's going to get hurt here, I'm the one that's going to be aggressed upon, then you take the action first. That's self-defense, Oscar. That is self-defense. Why would you wait, as Derek said, to get stabbed? There's nothing else you can do, and you're convinced that person's going to harm you.
Okay, well, if I have also a memory with this, like I've felt uncomfortable with a person who was carrying a weapon, but he wasn't threatening anyone. He was just carrying the weapon, and sure, that person was carrying a weapon, meaning that there is the possibility of him to actually do violence, which can be quite uncomfortable when you don't yourself. When I didn't have a firearm, but he wasn't like it wouldn't be self-defense to initiate anything against him when he, like, even though I felt uncomfortable, right? but yeah, possibly he could take me out with his firearm.
Yeah, you're correct. He could, but he hasn't threatened you in any way. He hasn't like brandished it to you. He's not making anything, let it be known that he wants to use it upon you. Now, the fact that you feel uncomfortable is a different matter. If you feel uncomfortable with the guy, you don't have to be with that guy. That's up to you.
Exactly.
Just to be in his company, then, and he doesn't do anything with his gun, he's not aggressed against you. Right? So there's no need to take defensive action in that situation.
Yeah, we're not talking about what the best thing to do is in a given situation, because we can't picture a given situation. It's almost impossible to describe or whatever. Or like, the point is that it's about what is actually right in a situation.
Exactly, and I think the way to go about it, as I think maybe we've touched upon this, is imagining if it's just two individuals on an island, right?
Yes.
Imagining like for example, I'm on an island. Derek is on an island. Derek says, "Make me a pasta," and I say no. That's one thing. But then he says, "Make me a fucking pasta, or I'll punch you in the face." Then I guess I'm not initiating harm by.
The only problem with this is Derek would be the one offering. He'd be making you pasta, you know. Derek's not going to ask you to make you pasta.
Bon appetit, y'all. We're getting way off topic, but we can tie in morality. Just, like any act of, this initial harm in the self-defense. What is the moral action involved in these interactions? And we could go ad infinitum on all these examples, but I think we're straying away too long. And we have not heard Yvonne in her wonderful, glorious day talking to the local folk out in Kingsland, beautiful place out there in England.
Yeah.
And I really want to hear more about what you're talking about.
Yeah,
with random
my little adventure today. Yeah. So the reason I went out on the streets today was because I am aware that I don't think morality is at the forefront of people's minds. So I compiled a group of questions just to put it out there, just to see whether my suspicions were correct. And I was also questioning before I went out, if morality is not at the forefront of people's minds, then what is? What's kind of getting in the way? What's taken its place? And it's interesting that you're talking about coercion, because I think people are so consumed and having their energy drained through coercion. That's the biggest thing. Like, we're all, well, the majority of us anyway, are all consumed by that. We haven't got time, or it induces fear, because there's so much coercion about. So anyway, I put a group of questions together and went out on the streets. I only managed to ask about 12 people. Do you want me to go through the questions that I asked people and what their responses were? Yeah. So I started off by asking the simple question, if I was to say the word morality to you, can you explain to me what it actually means? And out of the 12 people, I'd say 10 of them were pretty spot on. They knew that it was basically right or wrong action, good or bad behavior. They kind of got that correct. And then I moved on to, do you think that we live in a moral world? And this is where moral relativism started to sort of come into their conscious awareness. And it started causing a bit of, I saw in their faces, it kind of caused a bit of cognitive dissonance in a way, because the obfuscation, you could see it in their faces, started to come in, because they were obviously thinking of all the different things going on in the world. So I had to kind of bring it back to basics. I said, like, let's just bring it back to basics. Do you think we live in a moral world? And they kind of went, well, no, not really. That was the general answer. And then I moved on to ask, do you think children in the schooling system are taught what morality means or what moral behavior is, what wrong or right is. And their general answer was, well, no, not really, but they are taught in a roundabout way. And I found that quite interesting that, well, why are children not being taught just what the word means? Like, keep it simple. What's moral? Why are they teaching it in a roundabout way? That they're teaching them, oh no, don't do this, don't do that, that's wrong. This is where the obfuscation I saw in people's faces and the answers they were coming up with, what children are being taught in schools.
But
is where
they're not taught morality. Sorry, just quickly, they're not taught morality by example. They're taught hypocrisy.
No.
They're taught hypocrisy and and injustice by example.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is where the moral relativism came in, because obviously they were saying, well, some people will think this, and I know my child's being taught this, and it was moral relativism that was coming in. It depended on where you were. That was what was being classed as good or bad. All right. And then I went on to ask, do you know what coercion means? And I would say probably only 1 out of the 12 knew what coercion meant. So I just briefly explained that it was someone persuading you to do something. And if you didn't do it, there was normally a bad consequence to that, like a physical consequence or a fine. I brought it down to people getting fined for parking tickets or the tax reasons. Then they understood what coercion was, right? And then I asked, do you think coercion is moral? And then because they understood what coercion was, they all went no straight away. It was quite simple. So no, they didn't agree with that. And then I said, do you think that the institutions in our society and government use coercion? And they all said no. Yes, sorry, straight away. That they all, there wasn't any question about it, which I found quite good, that they all agreed that they use coercion. And then I went on to ask, out of all the thousands of legislations, say just in this country, for instance, do you think they're actually working in making our world a moral world? And they said, well, no, they're not. And I said, well, let's bring it back to basics then, and just go on the basic principles of do not harm or do not steal. Do you think that that is a better way forward if we all learn just that simple and all practice those simple basic truths? And they went, well, yeah. So anyway, then I moved on and asked, do you as an individual feel as though you are capable, without anyone telling you, to live a life that doesn't cause anyone any harm or doesn't steal? And they went, yeah, absolutely. So then I asked, well, do you need someone else to tell you what's right or wrong then in all these legislations? And they went, well, no. So then I moved on, just let them think about it for a little while. And then I said to them, I kind of started to round it up and said, the next time you have dealings with another person or an institution, are you going to question whether it's moral? And they went, well, yeah, I will be from now on. And I said, do you feel as though you have a moral obligation to speak up and inform the other person or the institution that their behavior is immoral? And they went, well, yes, I'm gonna. And I said, what do you think the consequences are if we don't start speaking up? Are we going to have, are things going to get worse or are they going to get better? And they said, well, no, they're going to get worse. And yeah, most of them, bar two, went away and said that they really enjoyed that conversation, and it's really made them think about what morality is. So I think it was a good exercise to do.
I'm curious. Yes, sir.
No, that's it.
I'm curious about the two.
Oh yeah, that was a really strange one. They were really engaging until I got to the question of coercion, and then they completely got defensive and turned their back on me. And I went, "Oh," I said, "You don't want to carry on anymore." I said, "You don't have to." And she just turned around to me, gave me a really filthy look, and said, "I will be answering no more questions." And I just thought, I wonder what the trigger was there. After fucking hell. So yeah, but everyone else, it was.
Wow.
I was really quite pleased that they were quite open, and they seemed to really enjoy engaging. I suppose it comes from the lockdown. No one really speaks to each other anymore on the streets, you know. And they really appreciated it.
Right on.
Cool.
Nemo, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, well, my mind's going all over the place because I've got people commenting as well. So just to sort of go back to the sort of slight tangent that we were on, you know, there is an argument, morally speaking, this is from Thelema, that, you know, if someone is violating your rights, they forfeit all of their rights. That's very extreme. If you think that through, it's very extreme, but there is a kind of moral argument for it. You know, it's quite a strong moral argument. I've said it basically, but
a great example, yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, basically, you know, if someone is coercing you, you know, or lying to you, these kind of non-violent, you know, let's say offences, then according to that idea, they have no rights left at all. So you how you respond to that violation of your rights is really up to you. You could kind of do whatever you want because they have no rights left. They've forfeited all of their rights in treating you that way. It's actually a really strong argument, even though it's like very intense and kind of a lot to sort of take on. But it's like it's really worth thinking about, I think. Anyway, yeah. So that was just to.
I think it's okay to go back and discuss what we were speaking about before, because the topic is just morality, and another way to define morality is to say that it's whether or not behavior aligns with a standard, right? Some principles. But are those principles objective? Is the standard made up by us? Is it relative? That's how it ties into the conversation we had last time, where we're all we all agree that perception does not determine truth, that reality is independent of our subjective preference or, you know, opinion. Well, I think we should from that also be kind of strict in the same way and say, well, the same is true for morality. The morality is not dependent upon perception, even though there are a lot of different perceptions on morality. There can be no doubt about that. I think we can go back to that question of, is self-defense the initiation of harm, as in, like, are you beginning it? Because then I think it becomes unclear, when is it self-defense. I would definitely not say that self-defense is when you begin it, or is when you initiate it. I think that then it can never be self-defense.
So when you begin what?
Oh. When you begin the fight, when you begin the duress or the theft or the violence. If I am beginning a violation, then it is not a violation of my rights, as you were saying before, Nemo. I've kind of abdicated my rights by doing that, and it's not a violation of my rights if you then do what you deem is necessary to stop me from violating you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's only self-defense if there's already been a violation, as in a theft, deceit, coercion, etc. You know, then it's self-defense. You know, but obviously the thalamic view is quite extreme. You know, it kind of says, well, it leaves it up to you. It's kind of saying, well, it's what you deem, like you said, what you deem as reasonable. It could be, you know, anything, because they have no rights left. So it's up to you.
Right,
That
but yeah,
makes me
we're not
think
going to
of
kill someone over the fact like, oh, they had some petty lie against us, so they slandered our name. We're going to go out and shank their arm off or whatever the hell. So yeah, it's going back to what I was saying. Like, if you think of things in terms of energy and the electromagnetic field that we all bestow and all this stuff, we can, you know, it's about like reading the room, you know, reading people's energies and all these things, and having the activated intuition, you know, to do these things is paramount. But you know, like, yeah, it can fall into slippery slopes. Like, oh, there's people that are so easily offended that you know, they have these terms like microaggression, so they're gonna start, you know, when the victim, you know, I'm talking about terms of, you know, this ostensible victimhood mentality becomes the victimizer type of thing, you know, then it becomes like such a slippery slope of nuances and stuff, and yeah, this moral relativity stuff. But yeah, there are some really key components to what you mentioned, Nemo, in regards to thelema. That's pretty cool. But yeah, it seems pretty extreme, like you said, right? But yeah.
The thing is, I think if you really understand that principle, I actually kind of feel like it takes you to a place that's it actually takes you to heaven. Like, if you can really understand that, then you're inhabiting a world where there are no violations happening. You know, that's the world where that makes sense. You know, and then
I was going to on that, Nemo. When you were talking about that thalamic dictum, it made me instantly think of Lex Rex, the law is king, you know. And it also made me think of, you know, it's the ultimate, if people did all have that approach to it, it's the ultimate assurance that everybody would act morally. And therefore, like you're saying, it becomes, you know, is having the right word to you. But you're right, though, because nobody is acting immoral to anybody, because the consequences could be anything. And it also brings home the gravitas of morality as well. It's not frivolous at all to anybody anymore. It becomes like one of the most important things to being a human or being a being in the first place. You know, it makes me think of, like, I've got one American on the show here, but it makes me think about, I hear Americans talk about when they're in states where open carry is allowed. I know this is a watered down version of what you're talking about, but they always say that everybody goes out their way to be polite to everybody. Nobody really offends anybody because they know what could happen to them, you know. But it really does bring home the how it baked into the fabric of the universe morality actually is. And it also turns my mind to it's so baked into reality that we all know the law of freedom, but that's based on morality, isn't it? So your freedom or lack of can be or is dependent on correct moral behaviour by others and by yourself. So somebody said at the start, I think it was you, Nemo, said that, like, it's like people don't like to talk about morality these days. They see it as kind of like uncool and all that. You know what I mean? But it's so far not that. It's like really, really integral to our forward movement as a species. And I think I said that exact same thing in the last show as well. But that's because it's linked to right and wrong, you know, and as we know, a right is anything that doesn't cause harm to another sentient being. It really, it is quite deep point you made, the thelemic outlook on it. I've never actually gave it as much thought until we were talking about it, but yeah, Lex Rex, guys.
Well, also,
Absolutely.
if you truly understand it, then you're not gonna like. Then it's about understanding the principle of it. It's not about taking some outrageous action. It's about understanding the importance of moral behaviour, the fundamental.
And it's not all, like, it makes you instantly think that it's going to be the most extreme thing that the person then has the right to do. They're going to take the most extreme action, and that's not necessarily the case. That goes back to what Derek was saying about having intuition in situations as well.
Yeah.
But the possibility is always there, and the importance of it's always there. But if everybody did like abide by that, you're right, Nemo, like, would we even be on a panel show right now having a discussion about it? Because it would just be a given.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you think about all this, Yvonne? I don't know if you
Yeah.
even want to weigh in on this.
No, I was just going to ask. I was only just going to ask the question. Do you guys think that we have a moral obligation to speak up about what is immoral?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny because my immediate response is yes, and then I'm thinking, am I doing that though? You know. So it's like,
No, yeah, for sure. I'm sure you are, Nemo.
there's also like, to what degree, like which bit, you know, like all of it. There's like so much. You know what I mean?
Well, we're all in agreement that government is slavery, aren't we?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
but government, but it's self-inflicted. You know, I think that can be understood. That I think it's more like government. I don't know. I see it a bit differently. That question, I think, to some people. Like I think government doesn't exist. It's just a fantasy. It's just a bad fantasy. You know, that's how.
Are you affected by government in any way, Nemo?
I'm affected by other people's belief in it.
Yeah. So that's I suppose that's what I mean by a moral obligation to, I suppose, educate other people that still think that government is legitimate.
The question of whether you like. So I had this thing, which I don't think I can upload it, but I made this for one of my recent things. I made this chart which had the lower realm of right action and the higher realm of right action, because I haven't heard them. I don't think I've heard other people talk about this, but this is where it's like there's morality in your everyday life or in like things that are affecting you and stuff, and then there's a kind of higher realm where it's like you're trying to create the causes that are actually going to impact long into the future, you know, and actually shift the sort of dynamic, the zeitgeist, you know, and that's a different thing. So, and that's not necessarily talking about things like even the government or whatever. It might be more talking about really basic principles and sharing information, you know, trying to imbue the culture with these conversations, you know, and these kind of these ideas and principles.
Yeah, and I think that's what you wrote, Nemo, was very valid, and I loved what you wrote. And it's I do think there are those that are working on a certain higher frequency or higher language, I don't know what to call it, that are almost cutting the way for people on other levels to have somewhere to go when they elevate themselves up from, say, the bottom of the pyramid or whatever. And and I think all areas towards freedom or what people are doing are all valid. And in the freedom movement, I think it'd be good if people stop judging each other and that everyone has their part to play. And it may look like what some people are doing, it's not elevated enough, or vice versa. Maybe some people view what you're doing, Nemo, and your writings as too elevated and not down to earth enough. But I think everyone has got their role to play, and yeah, I think it's all valid.
Yeah, I can dig that. And whatever parts and roles we have to play at whatever level of consciousness and awareness we're at, and whatever level and experience we've had at, this, truth speaking, whatever magic you're manifesting into the world to bring about, that proper positive change and all that stuff. And yeah, like Nemo, like you said, really trying to be the cause point to effectuate proper positive change into the world, not be operating on the realm of effects, because that is ineffective to be at that level of manifestation, right? But like whatever all these levels I mentioned, we can all still come to a lot of common denominators, and including just people's general violations of rights and all these things. So yeah, that's things to consider, because like we cannot be silent in the face of all these things that we know and are aware about. Like what is the knowledge that we've accumulated doing if it's just sequestered in our brains and not really being shared with others, at least, and just integrated into your soul, so you're operating better and you're shining that light wherever you walk, whatever place of the map, right? Being that moral human being that's just a living example of that, right? And maybe, yeah, people might want to aggress you, bully you, and there might be onlookers. So how are you going to be able to master that interaction with being able to teach this motherfucker a lesson, but being a good role model at the same time? I know it sounds a little cheesy, but I hope you guys know what I mean by that. In just not losing face, I suppose, and keeping in mind that your adversary at that particular moment, they can be redeemable, and maybe they're just at a really low point in their life, and whatever the fuck, they're trying to steal your money because they're fucking broke, whatever, and you're able to just submit them or whatever, and just, I don't know, like obviously
I think
people.
I'd like to add on to that, because I completely agree that the character of an individual, the moral character of an individual, isn't set in stone, even though our past actions are unescapable. What we have done, we have done, and the morality or immorality of our past actions cannot be undone. But that is not to say that because I have stolen in my life, I should identify with as a thief, in the sense that then I am no more than that. When the truth of the matter is that one of the most occulted or hidden things about our nature is that we are constantly becoming. We're constantly evolving or developing, and so is our character. So by doing good deeds, then I am becoming a better human being. My character is that of becoming a good person. And by doing evil deeds, well, then I am choosing to go down that road. And my point is to say that it's not like I'm gonna forever be on the same road. In every present moment, I have the choice to choose between the polarity of right and wrong, or moral or immoral behavior, and that will determine the character that I am developing. So I can I can totally agree with that. And maybe in that context, I will also say that it's good to be strict and extreme in our choice. We don't want to go the center path when it comes to morality. We want to choose extremity. We want to choose the polarity of good, the polarity of right, of morality. We don't want to be wishy-washy and try to say, well, I'll find like a balance between them. That's not what it's about when it comes to polarity. The same we can say when we spoke about last Sunday about truth. We don't want to have some truth mixed with some lies. We want to be extreme in our pursuit of knowledge. We don't want to accept things that are false. because then we will be confused. In the same way, we don't want to act in ways that are immoral, because then we'll be enslaved.
I was going to say about the moral obligation question, just kind of echoing what I think what Derek was saying, that it's about our capacity and our character, you know, like what we can do. Like I'm not going to, like I've sort of feel like I've kind of heeded the call to sort of like step up and try and actually transmit and put stuff out onto the internet, you know, and into the world. That's kind of, you know, calling for me that's like quite clear. But I'm not going to like look down at someone who is you know, spreading good vibes wherever they go and talking to people more. You know, I'm not a particularly sociable person, whatever, you know, but it's just a different character thing. But someone who's you know, doing yeah, there's different way. Everyone has different ways of doing things, you know, of doing the great work, you know. So the moral obligation thing is there's a kind of, you can't respond to everything, you know, that it's impossible. I mean, life's crazy enough, you know, without trying to take the weight of the world, every immoral thing, you know. We're in this horribly immoral world, so you've got to like choose your battles.
Exactly, and an obligation is a choice. We feel obliged to something that we devote ourselves to, whereas in duty is something where you say, well, that's my duty, I just need to do that because.
Yeah.
But there's no really, like, it's just a belief system, where an obligation is something, well, I'm going to keep my word. I said I was going to do this, and now I'm going to do it. And whether or not we feel morally obliged to speak up against immorality, well, that is determined by our conscience, by what we feel is right or wrong, by what, or maybe more the feeling, what we know is right and wrong. And I think it's a really great question, and it was super cool to hear about your day, Yvonne. And one of the questions I myself am thinking about throughout this discussion is also whether or not, when we speak about how one should respond to immorality, it kind of ties a bit into what you're saying. Should we speak up against it? I think another question is like, should we stop it? Should we end it? Or is it okay to walk away and secure ourselves? Because is that what we should do, right? Because when we speak about rights, we're not necessarily speaking about what one should do. Like
But put in the question of morality. Sorry, I'll let you go in a second, but like an example, like whistleblowers, right? They work let's say they're working for motherfucking Pfizer, and they realize that how fucked up that place is. Is it moral for them to continue working there after they know, you know, I mean, it was never really moral, but, you know, the moral dilemma really dawns upon them. And, you know, imagine if they turn their back on, you know, listening to that, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's where I was kind of coming from in a way. Maybe I didn't ask it correctly, is the whole exercise today, what I was trying to achieve and point out to the people on the street was, like, do we have a moral obligation to speak up? As in, if we can acknowledge and accept that there are certain things in our society that are just fucking not right, are they ever going to change if we don't speak up? Because we become quite submissive in our society. We just accept. And it was kind of more down those lines in there. If you think of like, what is a moral livelihood, for instance, everyone is, not everyone, loads of people are doing immoral livelihoods, and it is upholding an immoral society. So I do think that once you reach the stage of accepting that there are certain immoral things, say like in your livelihood, then you do have a moral obligation to change that and speak up and say no more.
Here.
Yeah, or stop doing what you're doing.
What about Tommy?
Well, what you were saying there, I don't think you can hide from it. You know, it's like if you truly come to the knowledge of what's truly right and wrong, and you truly know what objective morality is, and you're not a psychopath, right? It beggars belief to me to like then not try and do something with it. Do you know what I mean? To try and propagate it to other people so they can learn it too. Because a lot of people are doing the moral things because they don't understand what's right and what's truly right and wrong, and what's true, and they're all like thinking morality is subjective. And I mean it's a spider's web, because you know they all believe in authority, and then so they look to government. You know, it's that rabbit hole we've all been down. But if you come to the point that we're all at just now, is it up for question? Like if you know what you're doing, say the livelihood question, if you know that's immoral, is it? It's not, to me, it's not up for question. You know, you've got to stop
Absolutely not. Absolutely
it.
not. No.
It's like someone talked about like walking the path, like you've kind of got to walk it like you talk it, you know? Or
There's only one path. There is only one book, and the truth of morality is written in that book. There is no other book. It is the one book. It is the right book. That's just what I want to say. No, of course, that's a joke. But yeah, it does have a tie to what you're saying, the belief in the authority of like one religious scripture, right? And it's also with the belief and authority of jurisdiction, where we think legality is morality, which thankfully your anecdotes or your stories, Yvonne, kind of opposed. They were telling us it's not completely like that. There are people who understand that legality does not equate to morality, and that is because if I just had to be a bit of pain in the ass here, I'll say it, that it's because morality is objective. Morality is objective, and legality is not. Legality is, it's moral relativism, and moral relativism is one of the tenets of the religion that we maybe unconsciously are born into, right? In our society, there's this belief in that an action can be wrong in one place and right in another, or at one time we can make an action immoral or moral, depending on the jurisdiction, on the legality, what some people have decided.
I'm going to sort of like start to wrap it up. I just show this. Can I show that?
Yeah, sorry, did I pop it up prematurely earlier?
Yeah, well, I just was chatting about something else, but this was just the thing that I was talking about. So, yeah, this is just the thing that I made. It's about, you know, it's talked about right action, which obviously is moral action, really. So, I mean, it would take a bit of time to go through the whole thing, but, you know, get a screenshot or whatever. I don't know. I just thought I managed to grab it. I'm quite impressed with myself. That's the first time I've actually done this. Anyway, that's in my that is in my What is Natural Law
Substack, baby, yeah.
essay series, which is on Substack. And I kind of realized that we're not in the habit of plugging our stuff, because obviously most of us here don't really have content, but like we probably should like cross-pollinate a bit more. So anyway, yeah, so I've got Substack. Go and have a look. There's stuff on there. Yeah, so while I'm in this kind of mode, there's also, I just thought I'd mention that there's a lot of activity. There's like chat coming in all over the place. I don't know where half of it's coming from, because we're broadcasting to a few different channels. So there's people And it's very hard. I find it very hard to focus on the conversation. I've said this before, that people that we're having, and then also bring in questions that people are asking and stuff. So sorry that, you know, I mean, Andrew was asking something on YouTube. Is minding our own business part of moral behaviour? Which I thought was interesting. And who decides what's moral and not? So those are obviously big questions, but we haven't really got time to address them. But we can. Drea's on the Telegram group, so she can get stuck in there if she wants. I'll plug the Telegram group as well. So that's up on the screen at the moment. It's also in the links below. Yeah, all the people that are commenting, comment on below the video as well. That, you know, that helps, I think, and like and all that if you haven't. I think this was a great chat today. What we're going to talk about next week is going to be one of the following three. Should have mentioned this earlier. We've had a vote on the Telegram group, and all the topics are really popular.
A vote.
A vote, yes. So we got some great topics lined up, but the favourites at the moment are property, anarchy, and order followers. So it will be one of those. So I mean, if you put in a vote now, quick, maybe it could tip the balance. I don't know, but it will be one of those. And if you want to get involved in the discussion, do join us on Telegram. And we're very close to 100 followers, I think. 100 members, 95 members. So yes, that's all great. I sort of think we could sort of wrap it up more or less. If anyone's got any burning things.
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to say that, yeah, like the Telegram chat is more of an actual discussion forum. It's, you know, not about just posting links to videos and all that jazz. You know, that gets so fucking tiresome and all this stuff, especially when people don't even, you know, say anything about the video that they're sharing. You know, knock that off, y'all. I'm not saying it happens with us, but other places where we could have, you know, actual meaningful conversations and interactions, right? But yeah, to each their own, and yeah, we could all mind our own business. But are we going to be allowing, you know, our fellow brothers and sisters just to get, you know, raped and stolen upon and coerced into all this fucking bullshit? Yeah, like Nemo said, pick your moments and battles and all this stuff, you know, like we can't be going out there like on some fucking superhero juiced up journey the whole time. Of course, you know, we're gonna get ourselves killed and severely fucked up probably. But you know, just to anchor in what's really important and to, you know, really understand that it's not about, you know, who decides what's moral or not. It's just aligning to the motherfucking isness, the objective truth, objective reality. That is part of objective morality, natural law, cosmic law. And humans have been able to study this, a la, how I like to call it, the science of life, if you will. And we can find these in arts and sciences and many different mystery schools, and even some golden nuggets sprinkled throughout religion. But if you look at the historicity of religion, they're not fucking that moral. You know, how much blood do they have on their hands? You know, sorry, but not sorry at all. But one thing I like is I don't know, please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if it's the Buddhist or Taoist, but it's the Eightfold Path to right action. And this is the heart-based electromagnetic oscillating life force energy that is the moral compass within your soul. This is the seat of the soul. Zerlath, he had a comment of, you know, in regards to Oscar, what you said with the one path, the one book, you know, it's like the book of life, the book of love, the book of, you know, your heart, your first eye. And are you having the right view on things? Perception, is it aligned to natural law? What is right? What is correct? What is moral? And all these things. Do you have right intention? I'm not going to go on a tangent on every little thing, but you know, going down the list, there's 8 of them. Right view, right intention, right speech. You know, are we speaking forth, you know, conscious words, abracadabra, mother lovers, right? Like we're casting spells every time we open our mouth. So sharpen your swords or S words on a good, proper stone, preferably the philosopher's stone, right? But dig it. And then, yeah, obviously right action, right livelihood, right efforts, right concentration, right mindfulness. This is the first cosmic law principle. This needs to be focused on the first, focus, hocus pocus, all that focus. Yeah. That's all I got.
Can I share a quote from Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the guy who wrote the Gulag Archipelago? Oh, it's not a slide. It's just something I have here because he speaks about in the Gulag Archipelago. He has this line. He says, "If only it were all so simple. If only there were evil people somewhere insidiously committing evil deeds, and it were necessary only to separate them from the rest of us and destroy them. But the line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being. And who is willing to destroy a piece of his own heart? Question mark." And he also kind of expands a bit about this. It says that the line separating good and evil passes not through states, and it doesn't pass through political parties either. And yeah, I thought that was a cool quote, also kind of appealing to the thumbnail that we have today, where you have, the angel and the devil, and it's kind of like how often our conscience is illustrated, and we kind of have to maybe not have like the too cartoonish idea of it, because it is more like, because it's okay to have like fairy tales and this kind of myths and stuff, like the wise man that you go to receive you're consulting to get some knowledge of what is the moral thing to do, what is the right thing to do. But really, we all have that archetype within us, and it's not, we shouldn't externalize the angel and the devil and the wise person. They're all inside of us, and we gotta integrate that. We gotta take ownership of the devil, if you will, that opposition to morality, of saying, no, I don't want to accept that there is a right and an objective wrong. I want to make that up. I want to be God. And we have to own the holy saint, that says, yo, this is how you fucking gonna create freedom and create paradise on earth. Because we also have that, and when we're having these conversations, it might seem really like, abstract and philosophical, but look at the word philosophy. It's all about the love of wisdom, and wisdom is right action. Wisdom is moral action, and we can all grow wiser.
Love and knowledge, right?
Love of knowledge, yeah.
But yeah, I dig it, Oscar. That was beautiful.
Yeah, you kind of stole there, Oscar. I was just, when you're talking about the angel and the devil, that was exactly what I was thinking. That devil has to be investigated, looked at, integrated, made to work for you. Basically what you were talking about there was shadow work, Oscar. But yeah, to become a true and whole human being, you've got to do that. It's a great quote by Solzhenitsyn. It's one of my favourite quotes. It's I love it. I love that quote. I'd just like to thank Yvonne for our field work today. Excellent. Gave us plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
So yeah, well done.
I certainly learnt that, to just round it up, that I know it was only 12 people, but 10 out of the 12, I felt and got from them that inherently they knew what right and wrong was. And it's just such a shame, or I should say it's left me with a tiny bit of optimism that it is just down to knowledge and lack of knowledge, and that's what our role is, to get the knowledge out of what morality and natural law is. And yeah, that's what I got from today. So it was worth it. It was worth it.
Hell yeah. I bet your heart is feeling as light as a feather, huh? Just
Yeah,
like
maybe.
Mayat.
Yeah.
And this is a great archetype for people to study, Mayat Anubis, in regards to keeping your hearts as light as a feather. You know, all those, you know, right actions and intentions and all these things amount to, you know, your heart being as light or lighter than the feather of Mayat. And yeah, there's some ideals of Mayat. There's 42. There's a great chat that the One Great Work Warriors did in regards to that. It was mentioned. Anyways. Nemo, you want to round us out?
Yes, well, thanks everyone. That's been very cool. Any thoughts about, if you have any thoughts about property, anarchy, or order followers, if you want to put that in the comments or get on the Telegram and vote, we will pick one of those awesome subjects. I'm still rooting for property, but they're all great subjects and we'll get to them eventually. So it's fine, but it's a bit of fun. Okay, thanks everyone. Yeah, I'm Nemo Jones. I'll see you next time. We'll all see you next time on Europa Natural Law.